Hello, everybody, and welcome to your weekly recap show. We have the President of the United States with us here tonight, Mr. Barack Obama. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, it is me, President Barack Obama. I'm here with my wife Michelle at the White House, and I'm thrilled to be here. So wonderful opportunity to be able to speak to the American people. Thank you.
Your Barack impression is pretty damn good, Jamie.
That's pretty good. Eh?
That was good.
I never did it before.
That was impressive.
I never knew. It was me the whole time.
I'm impressed. Well done. All right. Well, it's good to be back.
All right.
It's good to be back here with some technical difficulties last week. So
you guys missed a hell of a show. One of the best of all time.
It was unbelievable. All right, so looking at last week, obviously Al coming out with a huge win, almost 180 points, and he now improves to 7-1 in the Happy Endings division. 3 teams are 6-2, myself, Jake, and Brendan. But with Al putting up so many points, it's going to be tough to catch him.
Yeah, it is, as he went heavy with New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees, obviously, with his highest point total of the year at 44. Boston had his second 20-point game in the last 3 weeks, and then Brandon Cooks with a monster game as well. Al also had Marcus Colston on the bench, who hasn't done it this season. But he had New Orleans. It ended up paying off for him. That's just been the luck that Al has run into this year, and it continued into last week with a monster 178 against Ivan.
Yeah, and then we had 2 other close games, mine and Chuck's game, and who was it, Grim and Brendan, I think? Or John and Brendan? I don't remember.
John had a real with Brendan, and then
John and
yeah, you were real. Just all the fun were close. All the games. John and Brendan was real close. Came down to a 2-point victory. I was with John on Monday night, and we figured out if Jonathan Stewart got in the end zone, his night was over. And Jonathan Stewart got in the end zone in the first quarter, so it was over pretty quick. He ended up being in the game a little bit longer than we thought. You had a close one as well, as Andrew Luck was just pure garbage.
He was.
So he continues to struggle, but you are able to sneak one out.
Yeah, that was close. All right, looking at this week, let's start out with the matchups here. Bad Blue Boys, as we mentioned, 7-1. First in the Happy Endings, facing.
Well, hold on. Before we get into that, I think we should talk about some waiver wire craziness.
Yeah, today was pretty nuts.
Yeah. Not only with the waiver wire, also several trades. As Jed makes 2 moves in just a few hours, he acquires Jordan Reed from me, and then goes ahead and
spun him,
swings him to Snoop for Larry Fitzgerald. So interesting move there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Russ?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting that he spun Jordan Reed. I think both deals were pretty even, but I also think they helped out the teams that needed, positional help with buys, especially Snoots was hurting with a bye, so he got some more bodies in there. And you had a few tight ends on your roster, so you could throw one away. So to get
influx
to get Julian Edelman in that deal is pretty nice.
Yeah, I look at all of those trades, and I think it's pretty even. The one thing I think is interesting from Jed and Snoots' deal is Jed gives up on CJ, which I understand he's with him at this point. But CJ did just come back and have arguably his best game of the season. I don't even know if anyone would argue that. And then he goes ahead and trades him. Obviously gets some solid a solid player in return. But interesting to see. Finally, CJ comes out of his shell, and then we're getting rid of him.
Right. Yeah, that was crazy. And a ton of money. Grim was throwing down like $350, $400 today, and Snoot's putting up a couple hundred for Thomas Langford. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I figured a lot of movement. but I didn't think there'd be quite this much action. I put down $133 for Malcolm Floyd, and I thought that I would blow people out of the water. But Grimm goes ahead with the 206. He does what he needs to do to get him. And then Retzel going with 195 for Jeremy Langford, who could, frankly, just be a one-game kind of throw-in.
Yeah.
A lot of money thrown down for Langford. Grimm, Jed, and John all throwing $150 or more at Langford.
Yeah, crazy. All right. We got to get into some of these games because we're already at 10 minutes, believe it or not.
Jesus.
Bad Blue Boys 7-1 versus Masturbation, who's tied for first in his division. Jake, it's unbelievable. Albert faces Jake, who has Russell Wilson and Justin Forsett on a bye, arguably his two best players. And then after this, Albert plays two 2-6 teams. So the Bad Blue Boys, already 7-1, have a pretty easy schedule in the next few weeks. So with Masturbation having Wilson and Forsett on a bye, I think Bad Blue Boys wins this easily. How about you?
Yeah, I can't disagree. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. The luck will continue for Al. Again, not that he's played poorly, but he's also sat himself in some pretty lucky positions. So Russell Wilson out, and then Drew Brees going against Tennessee. I don't think that there's a chance to be had. But Jay Cutler is great, but I don't think he's gonna hold the candle or a token, or I don't know.
I have no idea. All right.
Huh?
It's breaking up a little bit here, but we'll just go through here. Grimsley Bears.
What's going on?
I don't know. It broke up a little bit.
Pick Al.
You pick Al. Okay. Good to know. All right. Next up, we got Grimsley Bears versus Fighting Frog Swamps. Frog Swamps have 5 guys on his bench that are on a bye this week. He picks up Derek Carr, putting him in the lineup. Starting Carlos Williams for some reason in his flex position. He might have to do something about that. So with Frog Swamps having so many buys, again, that's going to hurt him. So I'm going to go with Grimsley Bears in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Frog Swamps and Nation, while they've been pretty good, they've had some pretty lucky games. The Frog Swamps have won 3 games this season where they have not even scored 100 points. Masturbation has won 2 games where they have not scored 100 points. To compare that, I've lost 3 games where I've scored over 100. So I think that there has certainly been some luck again for them. The Frog Swamps will throw Derek Carr into the mix this week. Antonio Brown, I think, has a good week now with Big Ben coming back. The Grimsley Bears, though, have a pretty solid squad this week with Malcolm Floyd, Alshon Jeffrey, and Matt Ryan against San Francisco. So I'm going to go with the Grimsley Bears. I think he improves his record to 5-4, and the Frog Swamps struggle, and now they kind of start to get to where they should be, which is a 500 team.
Yep. Okay. I agree. And all right, next up we got Burgalicious versus Ducktown Quackers. Quackers, they have Chris Johnson on a bye this week, but Kevin Luck's out. I don't know why I just called him Kevin. Rag Luck's out here with D'Angelo Williams now going to be starting here. It is his name, but no one calls him that. All right, so D'Angelo Williams now starting with Le'Veon Bell out, so Quackers luck out there. Which brings me to my next point. I'm going to be sitting Andrew Luck, starting Tyrod Taylor this week. Luck banged up, as we know, struggling. Now it's rumored he has an ankle injury too, facing the number 1 defense in the league. So I'm going to go with Tyrod Taylor and hope that the rest of my lineup can beat the Quackers.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Rag's team starts to come back from injury. It starts to look halfway decent with Big Ben coming back. Dez, I think, comes back, and against the Eagles, Dez is going to have a good game. And then D'Angelo's steak and cheese, being the number 1 back again. He had a couple of big weeks. Frankly, I think D'Angelo's can't finish the season just like Le'Veon Bell. I'm actually gonna call the upset here. I'm gonna go with Rag in this one over you because he's got all these guys coming back. Amari Cooper against Pittsburgh. So that Pittsburgh-Oakland game will be interesting as far as your matchup is concerned.
Yeah.
A lot of guys going for Rag. And
Yeah.
Gary Barnidge, whoever the fuck that guy is, that guy gets a touchdown every week.
Continues to do well. I know it's crazy, but I'm actually going to go with the Quackers in this one too. So I'm going to go against myself, which is very rare, but it's the first time I haven't started Andrew Luck in like 2.5 years. So I'm going to go with Rag in our matchup.
Let me also mention an excellent trade by you earlier this week where you basically give up an injured player for Michael Crabtree. I'm not sure if Andy thinks that this is like week 1 or where we are, but Carlos Hyde isn't going to play very, very much.
Yeah.
Just give it to Crabtree.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's
another good for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think he hopes he comes back soon, but he may not. Who knows? All right, next up, got to continue on here. Kindergarten Cop versus A-Town Rat Tails. I'm going to go with you in this one, Jimbo. I think that, Andy making a trade this week hurts him. He thought he was going to get Carlos Hyde. Now he's having to start Sean Drawn in his RB2 position. I still don't know why he had Crabtree and Martavis Bryant on his bench. I don't know why he's not starting either one of them. I know Stephon Diggs is doing well, but him and Marshall are banged up. I don't know. Kindergarten Cop is making some weird decisions. They have won 3 straight games. He is a father now, but that's not going to help him in this game, so I'm going to go with the Rat Tails.
I hope he's a better father than he is fantasy ball owner because his team has been abandoned.
Yeah.
Absolutely abandoned. His team is a bastard child. Looking at his squad, he's got Danny Woodhead, who played all of like 15 snaps last week. I like Danny, but he's not the number one. Sean Drawn, where the fuck that is his B2. It doesn't make any sense there. I think the only thing that I'm really nervous about is Odell Beckham, but I've got Julian Edelman now, so I think that this is going to be an absolute shit show for Andy.
Yeah. All right, and then next up we got Survey Monkeys versus WrestleMania. This one is not shaping up to be a very good-looking matchup. WrestleMania had a bunch of buys, so he had to make some deals today to fill in his roster. Survey Monkeys having to fill in their roster with Riddick, Calvin Johnson, Doug Baldwin, and his kicker all on a buy, so it does not look pretty at the moment. I don't want to pick either one, but I'm going to have to go with WrestleMania in this one.
Well, you have to go with WrestleMania because currently there's only like 5 guys who are guaranteed to play for Survey Monkeys. So it's not looking very good. He doesn't spend any money on the waiver wire. I don't think he has a chance. Vincent Jackson is listed as questionable, but from everything, all of my sources, they're telling me he's probably not going to play. We'll see what happens there. I don't have any sources, so I'm just going off of myself. I'm going to go with WrestleMania. He trades with CJ Anderson and Jordan Reed. Sure, he gets a win. Good for him. Yeah,
I know I can't say much because I barely beat him last week, but Chooch is not updating his roster very frequently. He's not making a ton of moves on the waiver wire. It's frustrating when you're doing shows like this and you still see half of his lineup not filled. It's very strange. It takes less than maybe 6 seconds to change something on the app there. But anyways, I digress. Strip Club.
He's got one of those flip phones.
He might. All right, so Strip Club Casanovas versus Thompson Takeover. Takeover have been struggling. They've lost 3 straight. Struggled to put up points last week. And Strip Club Casanovas, they're still putting up a lot of points. Again, like I've said, when you have Aaron Rodgers and Gronkowski, those two can put up 60 points easily between the two of them. So I think that'll be enough this week as well. I'm going to go with BMAC in this one.
Yeah, BMAC is a very top-heavy team. He's got, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, Gronk, Lee Jamal is huge for him. That wide receiver position is just in shape. He's got Jordan Matthews, Danny Amendola, who probably shouldn't be rosterable at this point. He's had 2 good games. And then Fred Ginn Jr. Those are 3 of the worst starting wide receivers that we have in fantasy football. Yeah. But he goes up against a JK team that has has really struggled, and he's starting Brandon LaFell and Stevie Johnson. So, 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. I'll go with Aaron Rodgers and Rob Gronkowski over Cam Newton and the plethora of backups that JK has.
Yeah, that one's not going to be pretty either. All right, how about Washington Woo Woos versus Fredericksburg Flying Macacos? It's our last matchup to go over. Washington Woo Woos have made a ton of deals. They now have their 2 starting running backs, Alfred Morris and Melvin Gordon, after a few trades. He also has new receivers, Pierre Garcon and Travis Benjamin. Actually, his whole lineup was acquired. Phillip Rivers, his quarterback, was traded for earlier in the year, and then Charles Clay as well. So he's made a lot of deals. His team actually doesn't look that bad on paper. He's 2-6, and he's lost 6 straight games. But his team is not that bad. And Fredericksburg Flying Macacos also struggling. Made some deals today to improve their roster. Another game that does not look that great on paper, but one of them has to win. And so Fredericksburg Flying Macacos has a winning streak going. Washington Woo Woos has 6 games lost in a row. So I'm going with the Macacos.
Yeah, John's team would look a lot better if he had like a number 1 receiver, like, I don't know, an AJ Green or something like that he could have on the roster. Unfortunately, he traded him away. So is it horrible? No, he's got people that he can put in at every spot, which is more than a lot of teams can say. I think that the moves that Jed made today put him in a pretty good position over the long haul. Obviously, with Larry Fitzgerald on the bye, he doesn't have him for his flex or wide receiver spot for this week, but he's got Randall Cobb. I think Peyton Manning going into Indianapolis, he pulls his shit together, throws it to Vernon Davis every once in a while, and has a halfway decent game. Alfred Morris is not going to touch the ball because the Redskins are going to be down by so many points so early against New England, so that shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to go with the Macacos as well.
All right. And I wanted to mention, because you noticed it last week, Grimm had his first away game this past week, and he lost.
Yeah. The scheduling wizards, Grimm, had 7 games consecutively
at home. Yeah.
That speaks to how he's been able to sneak through a couple of these weeks with wins, but had to go on the road last week, and he struggled a little bit there.
Yeah. All right. Any other parting thoughts, Jimbo, before we go?
I don't know if everybody wants to say hi to Henry. Henry, would you like to come in?
Hi, everybody. It's me, Henry.
It's a nice bow tie he's got.
Henry.
Huh?
It's a nice bow tie.
He's really changed.
All right, this is going downhill quickly.
All right, see ya. See you later.
All right, man.
Later.
See ya.